Thank you so much. Take your seats. We're going to get started here really quickly. We've got a big program this afternoon, and I know that everybody's excited to hear our live presentation. We have 3 presentations this afternoon. Eric Crew could not be with us today, so we're sorry that he canceled, but our 3 other speakers will be here. Our first presenter is Cesar Hernandez. Cesar is the CEO and founder of Seraph Foundation, the COO of Trendsetter Clothing Company, and the executive team for the Haiti Recovery and Redevelopment Company. Cesar represented the United States at the Education Without Borders World Conference in Dubai against 4,000 students from all over the world. At this conference, he was ranked #1 in world policy on his research on immigration. Cesar also holds the unofficial record for the longest political speech ever. He spoke for 24 hours straight, surpassing the previous record of 9 hours by Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez. So please, Cesar.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
It's always funny hearing when people introduce you. Never get used to it. Well, before I begin what I want to talk about, I always relate it to very similar circumstances. And I was standing before a crowd much like this one. And when I began to speak, I stated that when I speak from the soul. And a person responded and said, well, Cesar, exactly where is the soul? And I began to think, and I thought about this omniverse ever creating and expanding itself, and a multi-universe, and a universe made up of galaxies, and these galaxies are made up of solar systems, and solar systems are made up of planets. And I looked at our solar system and this biosphere that we call Earth, which is made up of systems, both ecological and social systems, made up of populations. These populations are made up of communities, and these communities are made up of individuals. And let's examine this individual which is trapped in this vessel called the flesh, made up of organ systems. And these organ systems are made up of tissues, and these tissues are made up of cells, and these cells are made up of macromolecules. Macromolecules are made up of supramolecular complexes and monomeric units until you get to the most finite, which is the atom. Now let's take the atom and let's break it apart, and you have what some may call the vacuum of space, or what I like to call the soul. Now let's go back about 4 billion years ago in the very beginnings of time, when the very first atoms were being formed, hydrogen and helium, and let's break those open apart, and you have what is called the vacuum of space, or what I like to call the soul. So in essence, within everybody in this room, within everybody that's seeing this presentation, and within me, is the very beginning of time. And it is from the truth that is in me to the truth that is within you that I speak, and that is speaking from the soul. I further explain, I want to share knowledge with you today. Again, somebody responded, they said, well, Cesar, exactly what is knowledge? And I began to think, well, knowledge is like a king who held a feast. And he held this huge, elaborate feast and banquet and sent out invitations to specific people, and the people that he invited denied the invitation. So knowledge opened up the gates for everyone to come into the banquet. And some came into the banquet and they saw the feast and they saw that it would be good for them, but they decided that they weren't hungry. And some actually came and they sat at the table and they tasted it. And they said, this is good for me, it can nourish me, but at this moment I don't want to eat it. But some actually came down and sat down and they ate from it. And it began to nourish their body. And they tasted the ingredients and the nutrients, because guess what? One day, they too were going to prepare their own banquet of knowledge for others to come and eat. So my question is today, who came to just look at the banquet and who came hungry? That is knowledge. 3 things I want to share with you. 3 important things that are a catalyst that will propel you into becoming a selfless being. Vision, gratitude, and hope. Vision. You need a vision. You have to know exactly what you want to manifest into your life. I'll give you an example. I didn't always have a vision. I'm born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. And I had a best friend, his name was TJ Matthews, our starting running back for our football team. And I would run into him in the train station, he would say, Cesar, next year I'm gonna play football for the University of Connecticut. I'm gonna play ball and go to college. What do you wanna do, Cesar? And I look at him, I said, I don't know, maybe I'll go to the Navy, Job Corps, community college. Hopefully I get into the union. TJ got left back because of a English course. So he had to come back to New Utrecht and take that English course. Now he became a super senior, I became a senior. And it was about the third game into the season, and we were all going home from practice. And TJ would have to get out the train station and transfer to another train because he lived in East New York. And as TJ's walking home with his headphones on, somebody runs up behind TJ and shoots him in the back of the head. It's a case of a mistaken identity. I will never forget the look on my teammates' faces as they told us what had happened. And it hit me. Here was a person with a vision, and his life was taken away from him, and here I am with a life but no vision. What is a life without a vision? What is a life without a purpose? And this leads me into my second point, and which is gratitude. You have to have gratitude, because if you're not grateful for the things you have in your life, guess what happens? They get taken away. So I got a vision. I said I want to play football for the University of New Mexico. I got to New Mexico and I started playing football, and I got into the pre-med program. I wanted to go to medical school. I had a beautiful woman that I had intended to marry, and I joined my fraternity, and I had everything I ever wanted. But then I became a womanizer. I became a drinker. I started partying. Until one day I went into my coach's office and he tells me, Cesar, you're no longer eligible to play in the Mountain West Conference because of compliance issues. And because of that, you're ineligible to get a scholarship. So I'm sorry, you're going to have to leave. And this was going to throw me back to New York City and to one of the most defining years of my life. Moved back to New York City. Within the first week, my little sister gives me a phone call. I'm at home watching TV. She tells me, Cesar, I need you to come up the block because a group of men are following me. And me knowing what time it is in New York City, I grabbed a knife and a broomstick and ran up the block. And the man looks at me and he goes, that's your brother, he isn't gonna do it. He didn't even finish his sentence, and I hit him back. A huge violent episode explodes. As I'm walking back home, a man approaches me and he grabs me, and I had so much adrenaline and anger in me that I threw him into the Korean nail salon. And he looks at me and goes, I'm a detective, and he pulls out a badge. And me, with the stupidity, I slapped his badge and said, where'd you get it from? Kmart. Not knowing there was an undercover drug operation in my block. So guess what? Detectives were all over the place within 5 seconds. And they're all swarming around me. They grab my little sister, slam her. So I grab one of them, slam one of them. I get into this huge fisticuffs altercation with the NYPD. Until they say the magic words, Mason. And I said, all right, you got it. Throw me in the back of the squad car. As I'm going off the squad car, I see my mother coming out the train station from work. I spent 32 hours in Central Bookings, Brooklyn, New York. Central Bookings, Brooklyn. I'm in there with people with armed robbery, assault, possession of a deadly weapon, drug trafficking, and me. And if you've ever been to Central Bookings, everybody talks about why they're there. And they said, oh, I'm here for this, I'm here for that. Cesar, why are you here? Oh, Cesar's in here for assaulting a police officer, and I received all this accolade. And I'm sitting there, I'm telling myself, I'm not one of them. I am not like them. But guess what? At that moment, I was. I get out of jail. Within a month, I total my car. My fiance finds out about all the womanizing I did. She leaves me. And on top of that, she calls me a month later, says, Cesar, didn't tell you I was pregnant, and I aborted it because I hate you. Got into this huge depression. My weight skyrocketed to almost 298 pounds. But what's funny is no matter how dark the forest, there may always be a glimmer of hope. And that glimmer of hope for me was Kayla Salgado. I used to call her Fufi. And she worked up the block from my house and was going to the College of Staten Island to be a nurse. And every time I got into a problem, I'd run up to Fufi and I'd be like, Fufi, I'm in trouble. She would always take care of me. I didn't have a job, I wasn't in school, and she helped me get my life back together. Got a job, got enrolled into BMCC, and now I was doing better. Stopped drinking, stopped partying, and it was gonna be Fufi's 21st birthday. And she called, she said, Cesar, I'm gonna go to Atlantic City for my 21st birthday. Can you come with me? I said, no, I can't. I'm not about that life anymore. I'm trying to straighten up. And she was angry with me. She said, I can't believe it's my 21st birthday. I said, please understand, next Tuesday for sure, I'm gonna take you out to dinner. She hangs up the phone. That was a Tuesday. On Thursday, I get a phone call. I heard Kayla died. I said, what do you mean, don't play with me like that? I'm on my sidekick. I see her signed on, instant messaging. I'm messaging her. I call her until her best friend picks up as Myra with this scream as if her soul came out of her body. And I knew it at that instant what happened. I hang up the phone, I go to the gym, I don't talk to anybody about it until I went home and I saw the television screen and there was a commercial for Flavor Flav and he screams out, Foofy. And I couldn't hold it anymore, it was too much, it was overbearing, I just started flowing out of me and I was angry. The hardest thing I've had to do in my life is to see Kayla's dead body. Somebody that has so much life and that no longer was with me. And it was because somebody put a Rufalin in her drink and her body couldn't take it anymore and she passed. Still, you think I would be grateful for the things in my life? I wasn't. After that, on my 21st birthday, I get home and there's this huge altercation, there's this huge problem. Everybody's screaming, and I couldn't take it anymore. I just snapped, and when I snapped, I said to myself, I can't take this anymore. And then my parents got afraid. They got afraid, and they called the police on me. And they threw me out. And the last words my grandmother told me was, now you're gonna be a bum. And I'm in the 6 train on a train station where I spent the night, where I was homeless, where I finally realized this. Hope. That's all I ever had at that point, and that's all I ever needed was hope. And with that hope, I was able to manifest things into my life. I forgave my family. And I said, thank you for all the things that I ever had in my life. Because when you either get broken down, you can either continue to get broken down, or you can come out on the other end with a higher perspective. Within 3 months, I got accepted to the University of South Florida. Then I became president of my fraternity. Then I became president of the student body of 48,000 students. And then I founded my own nonprofit organization that went international. Then I became a professional community organizer for University Area Community Development Corporation. But ladies and gentlemen, this isn't about me. If you're truly interested, just Google Cesar Hernandez, USF. But today, I'm here to talk to you about how you can use vision, gratitude, and hope to transform your lives. And why is it essential? Why is it important? And this is the reason why. Because everything that's wrong in the world comes from a selfish thought. 3 major killers in the United States: heart disease, cancer, lower respiratory infections. Heart disease from what? The accumulation of adipose tissue from things that you don't need in your body, so it stores it and it comes out as a disease. Cancer. Cancer, why are the major issues of cancer is this? The things that you do. Behavioral factors. Dietary factors. Things that you completely control. Why? You don't need to binge drink. You don't need to take a whole bunch of drugs. They cause cancer. So it manifests itself as what? Death. Lower respiratory disease. Where does that come from? Tobacco use. Do you think your body was born when it was conceived to say, when am I going to be ready to take in nicotine? Your body, because you're selfish to your own body, selfish to your own needs, your body responds coming out as a disease and ultimately will stop you by causing what? Death. Now let's look at the world. Irrespective of how lucrative these industries are, the major industries are what? Arms trafficking, drugs trafficking, sex trafficking. Now let's look at them. Arms trafficking are usually caused because of an aggressor and a defender. If there wasn't an aggressor, there wouldn't be a defender. There are tribes in Ethiopia that are very archaic, but guess the only type of technology they have is an AK-47. Drugs trafficking. So what? So that you can get high? If there was no demand, there would be no supply. So for me to get high for 15 minutes, for me to sniff this coke, to get high between an 18 to 25 minute time frame, I have caused chaos, warlords, cartels in Latin America and throughout the entire world, displacing children, causing orphans so that I can get high. So by you buying that $5 bag of weed, you're investing into everything that's wrong in the world. Sex trafficking. Why is there sex trafficking? Because people can't control their desires and they want to do what? Be able to dominate another person? Is it really essential for your life? No, you're selfish. Now, vision, gratitude, and hope to transform your life. Why is this important? Because one person that is transformed becomes a community that is transformed, and that community becomes a population that is transformed, and voila, you have a biosphere that is transformed. Because one person that is ignited becomes a lamp. And guess what? A lamp is made to shine in the darkness. Darkness only exists in the absence of light. And once this lamp shines in the darkness, it becomes a torch. And then this torch is going to ignite other flames. And these other flames will become a community of flames. And you will literally baptize the world in righteousness. How does that sound to you? People want to change the world, and they're thinking about, I need to go out and change the world. Before you can change the world, change this. Stop looking outward, start looking inward. Control yourself, govern yourself, then you can change the world. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is definitely an idea worth spreading. Thank you very much.